Alright, so I have a pretty hot take today. It's gonna be spicy, so just prepare yourself. It's no secret that Xingqiu is one of the best characters in Genshin Impact. If you pay attention to many of the best team compositions, a significant portion of them feature him as a character. Vaporize has always been strong, and with Hyperbloom's conception in 3.0, players were provided alternative ways of playing the game. While Freeze, Vaporize, and Taser teams all require high investment with crit stats and more on all 4 chosen characters, Hyperbloom requires maybe 2 or 3 characters to actually be maxed out, and with it being so easy to play, Hydra characters are in extremely high demand right now. Now, with the return of Lantern Rite, we also finally see the return of Xingqiu's upgrade, Yelan, or at least that's what a lot of Genshin Impact players think of her. This has been something that's bugged me since some of my first Yelan videos, because it feels like some players tend to discredit 4-star units, or get FOMO when missing out on 5-star characters with 4-star counterparts. In general, they tend to overhype Yelan. Don't get me wrong, a lot of characters like this, Yelan, Kazuha, Raiden, etc., are great and are characters you should go for given the chance. But are they really that much better than their 4-star counterparts? Well, today I wanted to have a discussion with you about whether or not Yelan is even a better unit than Xingqiu to begin with. Though they share a barber, they don't share everything else. So I'm going to go over the pros and cons of both characters to help you decide if Yelan is a character for you, and hopefully teach some players the benefits of both characters. My name is Braxophone, and let's get into the video. Most of the Yelan Xingqiu discourse comes up on Twitter, and so if you avoid it, you've probably never seen it. And honestly, if you're fans of my channel, you've probably already come to terms with the fact that Xingqiu and Yelan are both insanely strong units. Both of them have pros and cons, and both of them do different things, despite them both being great Hydro pliers that deal a lot of Hydro damage. Xingqiu is a 4-star unit, whereas Yelan is a 5-star unit. Now, many players will argue that makes Xingqiu harder to get than Yelan, but conversely, players will get Xingqiu on accident while trying to roll for other 5-stars, and overall more players have Xingqiu than have Yelan, meaning he's a lot more accessible of a character. And if he really is that good, then a lot of people can make arguments for why you might not need Yelan. Additionally, once a year during the Lantern Rite, you can pick up a copy of Aliwa 4-star, and Xingqiu is a part of that list. Now, Xingqiu's damage is actually incredibly high. If you fully invested in Xingqiu and you're looking at his damage output per rain sword, you might see 3.5k or up to 4.5k depending on how invested you are. And that might not seem like much, but the amount of swords that he's hitting per attack and the fact that it's constantly changing means that he's adding a lot of overall damage to your attacks. As mentioned before, he also has insanely good Hydro application. Xingqiu's Hydro application, especially at C6, is better than Yelan's, and he can be used with Hu Tao alone. Hu Tao players have been using Hu Tao with Xingqiu since Hu Tao's first release, but the Hydro application isn't the only reason. On top of the damage he also provides, Xingqiu gives you damage reduction and provides a small amount of healing. Now, when I say small amount of healing, it is basically negligible unless you're not taking that much damage to begin with, which is where his damage reduction passive comes into play. Because it's damage reduction based on his rain swords, it also affects how much damage his shields take, and if you play him in something like Taser with Beidou, and Beidou has her Constellation shield up, even though Beidou's shield itself is fairly weak, the damage reduction from her and from Xingqiu will stack up and make her shield last quite a bit. Xingqiu also gives you stagger resistance, and stagger resistance can be key to playing a lot of different team comps and characters. In early Xingqiu constellations, you also get Hydro resistance shred, which will be massively helpful to improving his damage and to any other Hydro characters you have on your team. Xingqiu has been great in every single archetype, from Freeze comps, Vaporize comps, Dendro teams like Hyperbloom and Burgeon, Taser, and even Soup teams. If it sounds like this video is just a Xingqiu advertisement, it kind of is, because he's just so dang strong. But there are cons to using him as well. For example, if you get really technical about it, Xingqiu could be considered harder to get than Yelan, since there's no guarantee mechanic for him, whereas there's a guarantee to get Yelan. Now, we know this isn't the case for most people. Most people have happened to get him on rolling for other 5-stars or through the Leeway Lantern Rite event, but technically speaking, there is no guaranteed way to get Xingqiu at the moment. And lastly, despite his damage being pretty high, it's not as good as Yelan's damage. In fact, you could even say that Yelan's floor for damage is Xingqiu's ceiling. Her damage overall is just going to be better. Now that said, this does get overrated by a lot of players in the community. Some people treat Yelan like she is the single greatest thing to ever happen in gaming history, based on her damage being an upgrade to Xingqiu. But do keep in mind that her damage is only a little bit higher than Xingqiu's unless you have her signature weapon. With her signature weapon, she's insanely powerful, and without, she is still extremely strong, but the insanely high numbers you're seeing most of the time on showcases is with Aqua Simulacra, her signature weapon. Yelan is also a bow user, meaning she can take advantage of the best support weapon in the game, which is Elegy for the End. She can also use the free Favonius Warbow you get when you complete the Archon quest. Technically speaking, she has a grouping tool as well with her elemental skill, though it can be a little hard to execute, and against bigger enemies, it's nothing like Anima. She has incredibly fast movement for the overworld, so if you're exploring, trying to speedrun achievements or completion, she can be super helpful for that, and she feels like Wraith from Apex Legends, so that's pretty cool too. Now, unlike Xingqiu, who has his damage reduction, Yelan actually gives you damage bonus. It's an increasing damage bonus over time for the character that you have on field at any given moment, and it is a lot of damage bonus and can help your damage quite a bit. This can be a super strong utility for on-field characters like Alhaitham, Yoimiya, and Hu Tao. Except she can't be used with Hu Tao alone. And that brings us to the main few downsides of using Yelan over Xingqiu. Yelan, though she deals more damage, can't apply enough Hydro alone to be paired with Hu Tao and get her to vaporize every charged attack. On top of that, while she is able to increase your on-field character's damage, she doesn't provide any defensive utility at all. It's not that she should provide defensive utility, it's just that Xingqiu makes some teams playable without a shielder or healer, and that alone means that Yelan may need a shielder or healer in her solo team compositions. Or you can use this top secret tip that Genshin Impact players don't want you to know about. Make your damage massive. Hilichurls will freeze in awe of your insanely large brain. The Spiral Abyss will let you walk through because they're scared of the giant shadow you cast with your huge Hydro uptime. Just use them both. Use them both together. They're both great. Listen, this video was meant to be more of a discussion on why Yelan is sort of overrated when you compare her with Xingqiu. They're both insanely strong units, but so many people seem to be under the misconception that Yelan is a significantly better unit than Xingqiu. They both provide different utilities, and you'll find that often if you have the option to use both, you may end up going with Xingqiu for comfortability or survivability in high-end content. With that said, if you use them together, it's absolutely insane. Think about it. You can get Hydro Shred from Xingqiu if you have Constellation 2, which is damage gains for both of the characters who already deal a lot of damage. On top of that, using Yelan and Xingqiu together basically means neither of them will have energy problems as long as you have a minimal amount of energy recharge, and ultimately you can even run a non-ER weapon on one of them, which can also significantly increase your damage based on if you use something like Aqua Simulacra or Jade Cutter. Hydro Resonance is also a massive buff for Yelan and a huge buff for Hu Tao teams. They're a crazy combo that can single-handedly carry teams through Abyss. If you're wondering if you should pull for Yelan and you already have Xingqiu, you definitely can. She's a really strong unit, and actually she will add a lot of value to your account. I would argue she's a top 3 unit as far as 5 stars go. The other two being Nahida and Kazuha, and I don't really want to go over that because I think it'll actually start a war. When people ask, do you need Yelan? The answer is generally speaking, no, because Xingqiu can do that same job with Hydro application that's actually better than hers and damage that's not significantly worse. That said, if you have the opportunity to get her, you absolutely should. She's an insanely strong unit and she changes accounts. But as long as you have Xingqiu, you technically don't need her. Genshin is not power creeping units, and therefore Xingqiu's not really going anywhere. He's able to provide what you need for Hyper Bloom and Vaporize. When you think about getting Yelan and you already have Xingqiu, don't think of Yelan as a strict upgrade to the character. Think of her as an addition, as a character that's going to enhance your account massively and allow you to play double Hydro, but do your best not to overhype Yelan in comparison to Xingqiu, because the more a community overhypes a character, the more FOMO it creates around that character. This is a gacha game, and the last thing we need in Genshin Impact is more FOMO. And also, just know that if you don't get Yelan this time around, you have until next time. As long as you picked up a Xingqiu on this banner, you'll still have an absolute amazing Hydro powerhouse, who honestly might provide better utility for your account anyways. Yelan may be one of the top 3 5 stars in Genshin Impact, but don't forget the 4 stars we met along the way. Xingqiu is amazing, and honestly, just use them both. If you guys have enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know down in the comments below, and consider subscribing to the channel and turning on that notification bell so that way you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. If you're feeling up to it, come check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Braxophone. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you next time.